Level 1. The lights across the river. You don't choose to leave North Korea. The lights across the river make the choice for you. You've seen them your whole life. The faint amber glow of Changbai on the Chinese side of the Tumen, visible on clear nights from the upper end of Haisan. As a child you were told those lights meant nothing. A wasteland, poverty and crime, and people who had never known the warmth of the great leader's guidance. You believed this the way you believed everything completely, because there was no other option. Tonight you are 19 years old, and your mother has not eaten in 3 days. She says she isn't hungry. You know what that means? You watched it happen to Mrs. Pak in the apartment below. First the excuses, then the silence, then the particular stillness that comes before the other kind. Your father went the same way 4 years ago. Illness, officially. You know what it actually was. You have never said this aloud. In the next room, your brother Gunho is asleep. He is 14. He still wears his Korean children's union pin on his jacket, even to bed. He believes everything. You love him with a ferocity that keeps you awake at night. You stand at the window. You look at the lights. A woman in your neighborhood, everyone calls her a Juma, spoke to you this morning without looking at you. She mentioned a man who knows a broker who knows a way across. She said some people work off the debt on the other side. She didn't explain what that meant. You didn't ask. Level 2. Everything you are about to leave. The man from Musan meets you behind the Sunam market. At 7 a.m. he studies you the way a merchant studies goods before making an offer. He lays it out without ceremony, the fee, the route. The timeline, 4 days. The penalty for running before the debt is paid. He says this last part with the same tone he uses for everything else. You go home. You look at your mother's hands. How the tendons show now through the skin, how she moves them slowly, like they belong to someone older. You look at Gunho, doing homework at the table, his pen catching the light. You write a note 3 times. You destroy each draft. A note is evidence. Evidence means a security bureau officer sitting across from your mother in a gray room, asking questions she doesn't have answers to. The only protection you can give your family is your absence and their ignorance. You leave nothing. You go back to the man from Musan the next morning. This is what love looks like here. Monstrous on the surface. Necessary underneath. You won't understand the difference for years. Maybe you never fully will. Level 3. The river. 2 a.m. November. There are 4 of you at the bank. A woman with an infant strapped to her chest, an older man. You will come to think of him as Mr. Song with eyes like someone who has already made peace with every outcome. A teenage girl, alone, maybe 16, and you. The man from Musan points at the water. He steps back. He will not cross with you. He never does. The Tumen is not frozen. Not open either. Somewhere between ice shelves that crack under weight, black water underneath. You step in and the cold hits you not as temperature but as electricity, a full-body current that locks the breath in your chest. Move. Halfway across, Mr. Song goes under. You reach back without deciding to and pull. He comes up gasping. You don't stop. You keep moving because stopping means the cold wins, and the cold cannot win. On the other side, you crawl onto the bank and lie still for exactly 10 seconds. Then a man materializes from the tree line. He doesn't introduce himself. He says one word, move, you move. The teenage girl is put into a separate vehicle at the junction. You ask the contact where she is going. He doesn't answer. You file the question in the place where you store things that don't have answers yet. Later, months later in Thailand, you will learn where she went. The answer will be the worst possible one. But that is later. Right now you are in China, and you are alive, and the river is behind you, and that has to be enough. Level 4. The farmhouse. 11 days in a crawl space beneath a farmhouse floor in Jilin province. 2 meters by 1 meter. Enough to lie flat. Not enough to sit. The Chinese-Korean couple who own the house feed you once daily. They don't look at you. They are not cruel. They are afraid. which is a different thing and in some ways harder to sit with. You sleep in fragments. In the silence between fragments, the thoughts come. Your mother waking to an empty house. The specific moment of it, standing in the doorway of your room, seeing the neatly folded blanket understanding. Her hands moving to her mouth. Yunho reading the absence where a note should have been. On day 9, voices above the floorboards. The flat official register of Chinese border police. You stop breathing. Not as a decision but as a biological event. The body making choices the mind hasn't caught up to yet. The farmer's wife answers in a tone so ordinary, so calibrated, that you understand she has practiced this. Many times, perhaps. For people like you. The voices leave. You don't exhale for another 10 minutes. On day 11, a new contact arrives. Same flat assessment, different face. He looks at you the way the first man did. Time to move. Level 5. The network. 3 weeks. Jilin to Chengdu to Yunnan. Different cars, different houses, different faces. You learn to read rooms the way you learn to read surveillance in Haizan. Exits first, then faces, then the weight of the silence. You learn that the kindest handlers are sometimes the most dangerous. You learn not to mistake warmth for safety. In Shenyang, you meet Yejin, 27, from Hamhung, 8 months in the network. Her eyes are the eyes of someone who has decided to feel nothing until she reaches the end. She tells you about her daughter, 5 years old, left with a grandmother. In the same tone she uses to describe the weather. You understand. The things that hurt most have to be described flattest. Otherwise, they undo you. In Chengdu, a woman photographs you against a white wall, returns 2 days later with a document. A name that isn't yours, a history that isn't yours. You memorize it in 4 hours. When she quizzes you, you answer without hesitation. She nods. In Yunnan, a man from Chongjin tells you about the teenage girl from your river crossing. He uses a specific word for her arrangement. You sit with the information without moving for a long time. You think about the man from Musan and the debt he offered you. You think about the women in the network who had no money and no other way to pay. You don't sleep that night. You don't speak about it to anyone. You put it in the place inside yourself where you store the things you cannot afford to feel yet. That place has been running over since the farmhouse. Now things just spill. Level 6. The long road south. Laos, on foot. 3 days. Red mud that swallows your shoes. Heat that operates like a physical weight, pressing down. A guide who communicates through gestures and periodic hissed Mandarin you half understand. Your shoes disintegrate on the 2nd day. The guide loans you sandals 2 sizes too small. You walk in them for 31 hours without complaint, because complaint is a thing that belongs to people who have other options. In a village near the border, you pass a market, small and provincial. But the food, the stacked fruit, the hanging meat, the casual abundance of it, stops you mid-step. You stand at the edge for 60 full seconds. The school lessons said the outside world was starving. You file this too, in the place that is overflowing. In Bangkok, the handler deposits you at a corner and gives you an address, the South Korean embassy. You stand outside for 11 minutes watching South Korean nationals move through the entrance with the unconscious ease of people living inside a world built for them. Then you go in. 6 days of interviews. The same questions, different order, checking for consistency. When did you leave? What route? Who arranged the crossing? You give what you can. You protect what you must. On day 6, an official sits across from you with a folder. South Korea will accept you. You nod. You sign. Your hand is steadier than it has any right to be. You don't cry. You made a decision in the farmhouse. You would feel everything after. After is still ahead of you, you keep it there. Level 7. Seoul. You expected relief. You get a 6-week resettlement program and a small government apartment and a supermarket that breaks you on the 3rd day. You go to buy rice. You find it in 15 minutes. You spend 45 minutes standing in the produce section, unable to move. Not joy, not gratitude. A specific kind of grief, Everything your mother was denied, everything your father died without, stacked casually on shelves under fluorescent light like it cost nothing. Like it has always been here. You leave without the rice. You go back the next day and buy it in 4 minutes with your eyes forward. Your accent is wrong. Your vocabulary is 40 years behind. In your first job interview, logistics company, Mapo district. You watch the interviewer's eyes shift just slightly when he hears you speak. A tiny recalibration. He doesn't know you saw it. You get the job. You spend the next 2 years monitoring every word in that office. You establish the Sunday evening protocol, North Korean state broadcasts. Accessible online, 30 minutes. You scan for faces, your mother's neighborhood, Heisen street scenes, the school. Then close the tabs. You break the rule twice in the first month. You enforce it strictly after that. You send 4 remittances home through a broker network. The first 2 are confirmed received. Your mother is alive. This information arrives through 3 people and is 3 months old by the time it reaches you. The third transfer, silence. The fourth, silence. You note this in your internal ledger. You file it in the place that runs over in the dark. Level 8, the broadcast. 5th year. A Tuesday in March. You have just come home from a speaking event at a university in Mapo. You are 24 years old, and you are tired in the specific way of performing your own survival for an audience who will never know what the tumen smells like at 2 a.m. Your phone shows a message from a network contact. No text, just a link. North Korean state media. A segment on defectors who serve foreign enemies. You watch it with professional detachment. You have watched dozens of these standard vocabulary, red graphics, a narrator describing defectors as human waste. Then the third interview subject walks on screen. Your brother is wearing a military uniform. He is 19 years old. He is the exact age you were at the river. His posture is perfect. His face is composed in the specific way faces compose themselves when something is required of them. He speaks for 47 seconds. He says that defectors betray the blood of the Korean people. He says they are instruments of foreign enemies. He says, "My family raised me to love my country. I have no brother." He looks directly into the camera for the last sentence. Directly, not past it, not slightly off axis at you. The segment continues. You watch it to the end. You don't know why. You close the laptop. The screen goes dark. Your reflection looks back at you from the black. The question arrives whole and fully formed, the way the worst questions do. Was he told to say it? Or did he mean it? You sit with both. You inhabit both completely, because both are possible and you love him enough to owe him that. If he was told a security bureau officer with a script and a camera and a boy who had no choice, survivable. If he meant it, 5 years of your absence and ideology filling the space where a brother should have been, and no evidence to the contrary because you couldn't send the truth, only money. Also survivable, but a different category of alone. Chaewon comes over without asking. She brings food you don't eat. She stays until 2 a.m. She doesn't to mention the broadcast again. You are grateful for her in a way that has no adequate language. After she leaves, you take out a piece of paper. You write a letter to Gunho, 8 pages over 3 evenings. You tell him everything. The river, the farmhouse, the sandals that didn't fit, what Seoul looked like the first time, what freedom feels like when it doesn't feel like what you expected. You tell him you understand if he meant it. You tell him you understand if he didn't. You fold it. You write his name on the envelope in the handwriting you both learned from the same teacher in the same classroom, in a city on the edge of a river. You put it in the drawer. You stand at the window. Across the Han River, Seoul shines back at you, lit, loud, indifferent, alive. You've spent your whole life looking at lights across water. The difference is, now you're on the bright side. You're not sure if that is an ending or a question. You decide it is both.